Good evening, good evening, or whenever this video finds you, I have some big news stories coming out of Washington, D.C. and other parts of the United States. So I want to go through those with you this evening. Let's go ahead and jump into the video. Former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama have finally decided to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris for president. They've run out of options and they're being pressured to push her forward. In a post on Twitter, Barack Obama stated, "Earlier this week, Michelle and I called our friend Kamala Harris. We told her we think she'll make a fantastic president and that she has our full support. At this critical moment for our country, we're going to do everything we can to make sure she wins in November." Now, the rumored reason for such delay with their announcement was due to Barack Obama, former President Obama, his initial skepticism that VP Harris was the right person to beat Donald Trump. I don't think he still believes that she is, but I think he's out of options. And I think the DNC is pressuring him saying, listen, we're going to try to steal $250 million from the funds that were given to Joe Biden. We also have to start blocking lawsuits from the FEC in order to cheat. So we need you on board or we're going to lose. I think that's why there was this delay. Now, as many have said, just watch what Obama does and you'll have a good idea of how things will play out. Now that Harris has the full support of every top Democrat, I personally believe it's unlikely that they are going to switch candidates again. But even after Harris was endorsed by President Obama, she was already acting like she had the nomination in the bag. It's important to note that that being endorsed is not the same as nominated. So she still has to go through the process and the paperwork of being nominated by DNC. But this will now be the third election in a row where Democrats have bypassed the will of their voters in order to install the candidate that they want. They're doing this with Kamala Harris. They did this with Joe Biden, and they also did this with Hillary Clinton. Wait a minute. I thought this was the party that cares about democracy. Never mind. All right. Now, despite having this truth in hand, VP Harris has been taking shots at Donald Trump for his alleged failure to make good on his promise to debate anytime, anywhere. Wait a minute. Wasn't she the one that rejected the opportunity to debate President Trump on Fox News? Now, in response, Trump reiterated that this promise was made to Biden, who already had the nomination, not Kamala Harris. Trump's campaign director, Stephen Chang, also responded to VP Harris by stating, given the continued political chaos surrounding crooked Joe Biden and the Democrat Party, general election debate details cannot be finalized until Democrats formally decide on their nominee. So Trump is saying, listen, I'll debate anybody, but I made that promise to Joe Biden, not to Kamala Harris. Also, you guys aren't even following your own rules and regulations when it comes to federal elections. So I'm not going to set up a debate with someone who isn't guaranteed to be the nominee. Now that the coup, against Biden is complete, the media is refocusing their effort on taking down Trump by doing what they do best: lie to the American people. Fake news is in full swing against Donald Trump once again, and in full participation with installing Kamala Harris. Now, the most recent example of this is how they currently are claiming that Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, criticized women who can't have children. The clip that purportedly shows this was from 2021, where J.D. Vance stated, "We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies." The statement was quickly turned into proof that Vance was against women getting assisted reproductive help, such as IVF. But wait a minute, wasn't it Republicans that stepped in and said, no, we have to have IVS? Oh, that's right. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris also joined in the fun by wishing everyone a happy World IVF Day, which was on July 25th, to everyone besides J.D. Vance. So the current vice president and the future vice president are now starting to spar online. However, what the fake news media doesn't want you to know is that J.D. Vance was completely taken out of context. Later in the same statement, J.D. Vance did what he called necessary throat clearing by disclaiming that his words were not an attack against women who are unable to have kids due to very complicated and important reasons. Vance stated, "The target of these remarks is not them. It's important to point that out. There have always been people like that who, even though they would like to have kids, are unable to have them. Let's set them to the side." So he's really talking about these single childless women who end up in top positions of leadership, who then make decisions without any regard to what it's like to have or run a family. Now, as J.D. Vance gets blasted for things he's never said, Vice President Kamala Harris is enjoying the special treatment that's awarded to those who are bought, such as the mainstream media. After she got heat on CBS for being listed as the most liberal senator by GovTrack's website back in 2019, wouldn't you know it, that page has disappeared from the internet. Well, too bad people grabbed screenshots. So CBS, you are busted for lying to the American people. She is, in fact, the most liberal Democrat in the Senate, and we all know it. She was also put in charge of the border, but they're trying to erase that. But we all know that she was the named border czar, and she's done a terrible, terrible job. Now, Harris was literally ranked higher than Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, which means she was practically being labeled as an extremist within her own party. Now, it's very interesting how stories that don't go with the narrative just vanish or are never discussed in the first place. But we have the receipts. We know that she was labeled the most liberal of all Democrat senators. But Harris doesn't just have an advantage regarding the mainstream media. She also has a team that is masterfully catering to a younger Gen Z audience. The advantage was so noticeable that popular conservative commentators, the Hodge Twins, stated, "Trump's social media team is getting beat bad by Kamala Harris HQ. They need to bring together a world-class meme and video editing team and start turning it up on every social media platform right now." Now, Trump is polling fairly well among younger voters, but right now, Kamala Harris's team, they're really focused on younger voters, while Donald Trump seems to be focused on older Americans. All right, now I have some big stories, including reacting to two really important videos. But first, a word from today's sponsor. Our sponsor, Colonial Metals Group, helped me with my goal of protecting my financial future. Being at the whim of the stock market or the current administration does not make me feel safe or secure. But having a self-directed IRA where I can safely store gold and silver, an asset that has stood the test of time, no matter what the economy or government policies, that makes sense to me. Now, Colonial Metals Group has helped me create a self-directed IRA where I can have direct access to my assets. Let the team of experts at CMG help you protect your family's future. Their level of professionalism and ability to listen makes it easy for you to learn everything you need to know about preserving your hard work. I didn't fully understand the value of gold and silver until I was educated on gold and silver. Now, maybe you're just getting started, or maybe you already have an existing 401k or IRA, or maybe you're in charge of protecting mom and dad's money so that it can be passed to children and grandchildren. Regardless, Colonial Metals Group can help. Now, we've put together a special offer. Go ahead and give them a call. Set up a time to learn more about gold and silver, or click on the link down below. They are all about education and nothing about pressure. You're going to be glad that you did. You will also receive a safe and up to $7,500 in free silver. Check out colonialmetalsgroup.com/Gardner or call their 800 number. I believe that gold and silver is a great investment, which is why I have partnered with them. All right, now even CNN is saying Kamala Harris is deeply, deeply unpopular. And her huge bump in ratings and popularity is actually a small bump. We've been lied to. But let me roll this clip from CNN so you can hear it for yourself.
Keep in mind, I think there's all this talk of all this Harris momentum. Maybe there's a slight bit of momentum, but I would argue it's actually a little bit smaller than folks think. So pre-Biden dropping out, look, Trump was up by 2 over Harris. We look at the polls now this week. What do we see? We see Trump is up by 1 over Harris. The massive change is actually the change of candidates, because prior to Biden dropping out, he trailed by 6 points in these exact same polls that we look at here, where Harris was only trailing by 2 points. So the movement is actually from Biden to Harris, not actually Harris herself necessarily moving.
All right, let me play that one more time.
Here, where Harris was only trailing by 2 points. So the movement is actually from Biden to Harris, not actually Harris herself necessarily moving.
All right, so did you hear that right from the lips of CNN? Kamala Harris isn't actually becoming more popular. It's just the idea that Joe Biden isn't going to be in office to continue to ruin the United States, to continue to devalue the dollar, to continue to be in charge of the worst inflation we've seen since World War II, to continue to allow the United States to be invaded. Those reasons and many more, that's what people are excited about. But when CNN digs in on the data and the candidate, we're talking about a little baby bump for Kamala Harris. I'm telling you, she is deeply unpopular. I don't know why. Maybe it's because she can't articulate herself very well. Maybe it's because she pretends to be black, but really she's part Indian, and she used to love being called Indian and Asian. I don't know. Something about her just rubs people wrong. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Why do you think Kamala Harris is deeply unpopular? I mean, this is right from CNN. This is not coming from Stephen Gardner. Now, while the Hodge twins admitted Kamala Harris is becoming popular, they stated it's not because she's a great candidate. It's because of the powerful propaganda machine. I think they're absolutely right. I mean, think about this. Kamala Harris is being instructed to steal $250 million from people that donated to Joe Biden. This is a clear violation of FEC rules. It's illegal. They're still going to do it because they need hundreds of millions of dollars to clean her image. They've got to get off of the internet the fact that she slept her way to the top. They've got to get off of the internet the fact that she locked up thousands of black men, broke up thousands of black families, and then kept black men in jail longer than their sentencing in order to give the state of California free labor or cheap labor. Right now, I'm working on having a guest come on. He was illegally jailed by Kamala Harris's team for 7 years because they had decided he was a criminal and they needed that to fit the narrative. So they're going to be cleaning up all of this stuff. And so in the meantime, they're going to grab all of that money because without it, there's no way they can even come close to beating Donald Trump. All right, now, I'm glad someone called Trump's team out because Harris is starting to go viral on TikTok. You should see the comments. Even people from other countries are so involved that they're openly wishing that they could vote for Harris. Like they are really polishing her image on TikTok. Now, Trump needs to make sure he's not underestimating Kamala Harris, as the Democrat machine is very powerful when it's aligned with a single mission. You have Hollywood, you have the Democrat Party, and you have the mainstream media. Those are powerful, powerful forces, right? Like Trump isn't going up against Kamala Harris. He's going up against an entire apparatus that hates conservative values, that hates Judeo-Christian values, that wants to install LGBTQ2SA plus values. I mean, just look at what happened in France. They literally mocked Christianity to over 1 billion people. Now you've got all these people pulling their money, their sponsorships, boycotting the Olympics. I'm not watching 1 second of the Olympics. Now, Trump, again, he needs to make sure he's not underestimating this, because they have powerful contacts. They have stolen elections in the past. I mean, look how many elections they've reversed around the country just in the last 3 years. I mean, so he has to be careful not to let her become too popular. Now, as proof of this, they are still trying to push stories about doubting that Donald Trump was struck by a bullet. Most notably, FBI Director Christopher Wray voiced his skepticism in front of national television. Now, he's come out and apologized and said, okay, actually, it does look like Donald Trump was shot with a bullet. But we had to be sure. Like, dude, we saw it on national TV. We saw it in slow motion. I don't know why there was even doubt. I know why there was doubt. The mainstream media was pushing that there was doubt that he had even been shot. Unbelievable. All right, now I want to react to a video interview between Representative Eli Crane and Jack Posobiec, a frequent guest on my show. They use footage from the Butler, Pennsylvania Trump assassination shooting attempt to prove someone could have easily seen and shot the shooter from the second-story window behind him, but the sniper team had left the room. Like, why would you leave the room if you have a former president and a presidential candidate? Now, in this video, you're going to see footage, aerial video footage of how the water tower would actually have been a much better place to shoot Trump from. Lastly, Eli Crane lightly mentions how the FBI cleaned Thomas Matthew Crook's entire house cleaner than a computer chip clean room. Now, why would the FBI do that? It appears that they were hiding something versus looking for something. But let me run the interview and let's react to this together.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jack. So myself and Rep. Corey Mills and also Benny Johnson went there to help us document this trip back to Butler. This is my second time this week going to Butler, PA to do an investigation at this site. And I think it's important to acknowledge what many of your viewers and listeners understand, and that's that most of us don't trust the federal government to get to the bottom of this. And I think even fewer of us trust, even if they did, that they would actually relay it to the American people. And so that's why, thankfully, we do have some younger members and even a few older members of Congress that are unconventional and willing to go, do oversight and investigation by themselves on their own time.
And so the fact that you were able to go there and see this, we're playing, of course, some of the footage that you put together, actually being in that second floor room, as well as the drone footage that went up. Tell me what were, I don't want to put words in your mouth, what were some of the things that that struck you from visiting the site?
Look at this. Like, there should have been a counter sniper team right there. They would have seen Thomas Matthew Crooks laying on the building, but they left the building. And then down below them is a whole room full of police and other snipers because it was too hot. Like, they abandoned the former president of the United States of America. It doesn't make sense. Now, more and more, I am doubting that there was something to do with the water tower. There's just no evidence coming forward. The people, there's about a dozen witnesses that say we saw something. It's more likely that there was a second shooter from this building than from the water tower. And I'm going to have an expert on that's going to walk us through all that. But let me finish this video off.
Well, yeah, this time we actually got to get up on the one of the barns that the counter snipers were positioned in, and Corey and myself, who also has experience as a shooter, we got to check the side angles because, as you know, Jack, oftentimes the official narrative is so far from reality that I think it's important that you even check the basics to see if these shots could have been made. When you start going into some of the deeper aspects of the investigation, and some of the other things that we're doing, Jack, is talking to whistleblowers as well. And what I can tell you at this point, without coming out with everything, is that there are people, we call them sheepdogs, within our government and our law enforcement agencies, who also don't trust this federal government and law enforcement to reveal to the American people exactly what's going on. And there are concerns that the American people are being gaslit, and also there are some concerns that things just don't add up, especially I'm talking to some guys that are very concerned with how the home looked once investigations were done. And so I'll be breaking some more on that here in the next couple of days, but we're going to stay on top of it and do everything we can to make sure the American people, actually find out what happened.
All right. Again, more and more, I am leaning away from the shooter on the tower. I think I'm worried that was a planted story in order to distract people. Again, I think the audio of the bullet shooting is more telling than 12 people saying, we think we saw something on a water tower. However, that water tower had a direct shot. The problem is the trajectory and the direction from which the bullets came from, based on Trump's microphone, the two people shot, and the fireman who was killed. It's all coming from that warehouse, ARS, the glass company. And so anyway, I'll continue to keep you guys updated, but I'm glad we're having members of Congress that are saying, whoa, we're not trusting the FBI. We are doing our own side investigation, because the FBI and the Secret Service is the reason that we're having this problem to begin with. So I'll continue to keep you updated on that. By the way, people are losing their minds over this. President Trump just announced that he is going back to Butler, Pennsylvania to do another rally. He wants to finish what he started. He didn't even get to finish his rally to the Great Patriots there in Pennsylvania. Trump also wants us to face our fears like he's facing his fears. And lastly, he wants to honor the family of Fire Chief Corey Comperatore, who lost his life that day because of Thomas Matthew Crooks. Now, Trump is such a good guy. I mean, he really wants this family to feel honored. I think he's also setting a great example of bravery going back. Now, some people are saying that this might be a bad idea because of copycat killers. Look how much attention Thomas Matthew Crooks has gotten. I don't like that we're giving him this much attention. Whenever there's like a school shooting, I always hesitate. To give these people too much airtime. But at the same time, I do think that we have to, get to the bottom of this. This is a really big deal. And so, anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think that Trump is pressing his luck by going back again? Do you think it's smart that he's going back? Do you think that maybe he's going to be in danger? I don't know. Let me know. I want you to type Y if you think yes, he should go back, and I want you to type N if you think no, he should stay away from that part of the country. I want to hear from you. All right, pressing his luck. Yes, he should come back. He should go back but with beefed up security. Yeah, maybe Jill Biden won't have something more important than a former president who had a hit on his head from Iran. I don't trust the government. I don't think he should go back. Okay, wow. Okay. Yes, go back. Okay, kind of a mixed reaction. I also kind of have a mixed reaction. I don't think he should do it outside. I think that they should get some kind of a big venue, maybe a town next door if there's a bigger venue. Either way, he's got to have his own security detail. These guys have got to be on their game this next time around. Okay. Although I will say this, I do respect him for going back and facing his fear. When I was 18, I was viciously attacked by a Doberman pinscher at a veterinary hospital where I worked. It scared me. I became completely afraid of dogs. I was having, panic attacks and not sleeping well. Anyway, once my arm and my hand were healed, I decided to go back because I wanted to face my fear because I love dogs and I didn't want to be afraid. So I think there might be something going on like that where it's like he wants to go back, right? I worry that, with feeling like, oh, I was divinely protected, God had a hand in this, that, just don't press your luck. Make sure that you have your security detail in place, Donald Trump. Okay, now that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has finally met with United States leaders, VP Harris released a statement concerning her thoughts, which hinted at how she may handle policy if elected as president. Harris stated, "I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militia, such as Hamas and Hezbollah. I've said it many times, but it bears repeating. Israel has a right to defend itself, but how it does so matters. The scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the death of far too many innocent civilians, that is the problem that she has." But listen, if you disagree with how Israel is doing something, or you're against the Jews, whatever it is, right? You don't skip a meeting with the top leader of that nation. If you're against it, then you sit down across the table from Benjamin Netanyahu and you say, listen, we will defend you, we will give you money and support, but you got to quit killing people in Gaza. You don't skip the meeting and then release a press release. So she, I think she was weak there, and she shouldn't have done it that way. Now, Trump met with Benjamin Netanyahu down in Mar-a-Lago, and he told them, wrap up the war, be done. Get it over with. We will help you take out Hamas. We will make sure Hezbollah stays back. Now, unfortunately, earlier today, Hezbollah fired rockets into Israel, and they got past the dome. 11 were killed, and close to 40 were seriously injured. They fired rockets into a park with families. They did not care that it killed these families. Now, from what I'm reading from multiple sources here, it looks like the majority of deaths and injuries, sadly, were children. So, we've got to quit killing children in Gaza. They also have to quit killing people in Israel. Hezbollah is attacking Israel on a regular basis. So this is a tough one. Again, I think Trump was right to say, you got to wrap this up and you got to quit the killing. And I think that Harris was wrong by skipping the meeting and just doing a press release. I think that was feckless and weak leadership. Now, if you ask me, this sounds exactly like what Biden would say. But even though Biden has been outspoken against Netanyahu, his actions have shown that he still has Israel's back for the most part. If Biden wanted, he could have shut down Netanyahu's counterattack a long time ago, but he's still pushing to completely destroy Hamas. And he was caught in a hard place. Now, that hard place, Kamala Harris has walked into, where she wants Muslim votes and Jewish money, right? And so she is now trapped in the same trap that that Biden was in. And did you see what they did to the Capitol a couple of days ago? They took down 3 American flags, they burned them, and then they raised Palestinian flags. There was graffiti and damage, and all of those people were let off. None of them were arrested for more than 24 hours. To me, that is like such a disgrace. When your flag is taken down and burned, and another country's flag goes up, that is called being captured. America has been captured by these crazy radicals. So I can now see why Trump has come out and said, anyone that does this crap needs to go to jail for 1 year. You can't come to America and disrespect America. Just makes my blood boil. All right, with that being said, former President Trump reportedly told Netanyahu that Harris is not to be trusted. While speaking to reporters about his meeting with Netanyahu, President Trump stated, if we win, it'll be very simple. It's all going to work out and very quickly. If we don't, you're going to end up with a major war in the Middle East and maybe a third world war. You are closer to a third world war right now than at any time since the Second World War. You've never been so close because we have incompetent people running the country. Now, I think that there is some truth to what former President Donald Trump is saying. If this spins out of control, I think that this situation is actually more dangerous than the Russia-Ukraine war. I really do. So I think that they need to wrap this thing up and be done with it before this escalates into something that I don't want to go. I don't want another Middle East war. I don't want to send my children over there. I don't want the country to waste another $9 trillion. These endless wars are just bankrupting America. They're stealing our future. It ends up in a bunch of deaths. It's just terrible, terrible, terrible. All right. Now, thank you so much for joining me on this weekend evening. Please, if you could, give this video a like because it tells YouTube to share this with more and more people. But lots of big stories in the news today. If you're just joining us, make sure to go back to the beginning. But Trump is going back to Butler, Pennsylvania. He needs to be cautious of Kamala Harris. She's got the social media companies on her side. She's got the fake news on her side and hundreds of millions of dollars on her side. I'm doing some research on a group called Act Blue, where it looks like they are taking large sums of money and then illegally breaking them up into Democrat donors' names and injecting money into Kamala Harris's coffers. This is illegal and needs to be shut down. So I'll be getting more information for you there. Hey, thank you guys so much. I love you. Stay amazing. And I will see you on the next video.